Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the Tapped Out Wrestling Podcast. I'm, of course, Mick McDaniel, and as always, I am joined by Myron Fancher. How are you, buddy?
Well, we'll know after a little while. Melissa got me a biscuit from Dunkin' Donuts, or a croissant from Dunkin' Donuts with that mystery sausage on it. If that doesn't kill me, I'll be here reporting. So let's keep up the good work.
Well, man, yeah, listen, I want to get, before we get started, man, did you watch the game this weekend at all?
I watched halftime show.
You didn't watch the actual game at all?
No, I watched some wrestling and I played video games.
All right. Well, yeah, we had a whole conversation about that. If you want to hear conversation about the Super Bowl, check it out over on the Tapped In Indie Show.
I didn't have a reason to watch it. I mean,
I just like football. I mean, sometimes a good
I like
football,
yeah. But I like UGA. You know, I mean, and it's kind of, I'm just all about wrestling these days. I'm just all about wrestling.
Yeah, well, if you want to check out the conversation about that and anything other, hey, tappedoutpod.com is the YouTube channel, but we always tell you, check out patreon.com/tappedoutpod. It's where you get the shows early. You get the bonus content that we're putting out, like the Georgia Wrestling Spotlight. That show is only available on the Patreon website for now. That's the plan, but it is there every single Wednesday. It drops. I know a lot of people have asked me that. It's a Wednesday drop, so sign up. Look, you can be free. You don't even have to be a paying member there at patreon.com/tappedoutpod, and you get that show, but you get the Tapped In show, you get the Tapped Out show. You can get them. Hey, if you're a paying member, you can get them early, free. They still drop there, plus all the content. A couple articles dropped over the past weeks as well, so some new stuff jumping out there. That's why we always recommend best place to get all your stuff from the Tapped Out Podcast Network is patreon.com/tappedoutpod.
A solid investment.
I agree. Now, speaking of content, Myron, let's jump into some stuff that right out of the gate. So we've been hearing about this new show, and guys, we're going to get to, I know you want to hear about releases. We'll get there. I'm just excited about this show. WWE LFG, and of course everybody's like, oh, that means, and like, nope, it means legends and future greats. It debuts Sunday. They got the whole new block, the Sunday block they used to have on A&E coming out, and it's a whole new one starting on February 16th. A little bit different. It kind of reminds me, have you seen any of the, like the trailer, the highlights or whatever you want?
I've seen pictures. I haven't seen any of the trailers. It looks like you're going to have your experts, that your wrestlers that made it. You've got your tag team guys, Booker T, you got Bubba, you got your Undertaker, you got Mickie James, who's one of the greatest female wrestlers of all time, who also knows the wrestling business. They're going to be judging these people and making great. I would think they're going to make the best decisions of anyone, and they're going to be putting out good shows, and these are going to be helping these people. And it's also going to be like, is it tough enough?
That's kind of the vibe it's coming off with. Is essentially it's going to be very to the earlier Tough Enough stuff, not the later incarnation, but some of the early stuff. Triple H is going to be involved. Shawn Michaels is going to be involved. And then, of course, the people you mentioned, Bubba, Booker, Mickey, and Taker. And recently, Booker T, I wanted to get this note in here, something he said. Booker T recently was on John Alba, and basically said he thinks what you could expect more is, because here's what we always talk about. The in-ring stuff is, yeah, we get it, but it's not about what you can do just in the ring. You're also going to be able to see some of the raw emotion and the stuff that, wrestling is in. And listen, if anybody can invoke emotion, I go ahead and tell you, it's Bubba Ray Dudley for one.
Oh, yeah. Devon! Well, what about The Undertaker when he rolls his eyes and people pop, like all that stuff? There were years where Undertaker was way too old to be in the ring, but we still ate up everything he did because he knew how to get you. He knew how to captivate. These people hopefully will learn that instead of just...
Well, yeah, but I think what they're saying is they're talking about they're going to get the reactions with those guys, not necessarily
Yes.
They're talking about they're going to get on these guys, like Taker, passionate about wrestling, Mickie James, passionate, Booker T, obviously, Bubba Ray, way over the top passionate, and of course Triple H and Shawn. So when these kids are not giving their all or giving, I think you're going to find that or see that. I think that's kind of what they're talking about in emotion. And matter of fact, here's the quote from Booker. I think being able to see so much more than just the competition in ring, the challenges and stuff like that, you're going to get a chance to see the emotion, the real true raw emotion, to where so many people wonder about wrestling, but seeing it from a perspective, they're going to perhaps second guess and go, wow, this is solely different than I perceived it for so many years. So he's kind of suggesting that, like, people are going to see how hard emotionally of a toll that can take on these people in the training aspect or whatever.
Yes. I really think the emotional bond, that if we can get an emotional bond with these people, and these people learn how to get an audience, it's going to be better than people that just do match quality. Because that's what a lot of what's taught is match quality. And when I go to a show and the matches are great, but I'm not emotionally involved, I don't care. Okay? I don't want to see a match where guys shake hands at the end. I want to see a match with a slobber knocker, and I know why these guys are fighting, and I feel strongly about this heel, and I feel like I really love this baby.
Okay, pause. You're completely missing this. It's not about them getting the emotion from the people. It's them, the emotional toll on the talents. Does that make sense?
Yes, but you'll see that, and you'll bond with these people. Okay? So they're going to reach the audience. So you'll care about these people as they go through. Remember Real World on MTV? Mm-hmm. Okay. As those people went through that stuff, you became bonded with those people. And you had your favorites. And you're going to do this with this show. Me and you will pick somebody we like. I'm going to go ahead and predict it. We'll probably pick different people. And then I'll get attached to my guy or my girl. And I will want to follow her from this show all the way through NXT.
I mean, TNA, I'm assuming they hope that. I assume they hope that, but I mean, my concern with that is if you go back to the originals, and we did. Now, there are a couple. Who do you remember from the original Tough Enough?
Wasn't The Miz? Wasn't that
he didn't win, but yeah.
Okay, I don't remember it all because I wasn't watching the original Tough Enough. I'll be honest with you.
Here's my thing, and when I say that, I mean I think the Miz proved. Okay, Miz is the exact proof of I think what Booker T's getting at here is that Booker is saying like it's going to do one of two things. It will weed out these people because mentally they're not strong enough to take what it really takes to get into wrestling. Miz obviously had it. He didn't even. How about this? Miz didn't win the competition.
Yes,
he was eliminated. He did not win. And then some of the people that went on to win, they had a cup of coffee. Maven was one. There a lot of other reasons why Maven didn't. But I think what their hope is here, they see this and they go, hey, everybody wants to be a wrestler, but do you really want to be a wrestler? Because you're going to pay a lot of, blood, sweat, and tears, and mentally you're probably, just going to break at some point. Do you have what it's take to push through? But the other hope to that is there somebody that sees that and says, I see how much they're passionate about their business. They love wrestling. I want to do that. And then they fall in love with that and then go, I want to do that.
Hey, my goal with this whole program, I'll be honest with you, is to have Melissa sit down on Sunday nights and watch this with me and become attached to these characters to make her a wrestling fan. Okay? This is a secret plan. Don't tell her. But she loves reality TV. She watches nothing but reality TV and To Call the Midwife or whatever, Call the Midwife, which is, I don't know, that doesn't get me. But she loves reality TV. This is reality TV. I might can pitch it. It'll appeal to me because I know what the score is. But she'll might find somebody, and then we can say, hey, look, honey, guess who's on NXT tonight? So and so. And
you'll have to teach her how to use Tubi because the people that I think that do well on this show are going to be on Evolve on Tubi.
Well, I got all the Tubi set up on my TV. I got the Tubi set on the computer. I'm ready to Tubi. I'm ready to see these Evolve people.
Speaking of Super Bowls and Tubi, speaking of Tubi, how about this? If people want to knock Tubi, I had Tubi. The Super Bowl was free on Tubi, by the way. So, and that's actually how I ended up watching the game.
Oh.
Because I'll tell you why. Tubi was ahead of the DirecTV stream feed, like significantly. Like we had it on in the Rachel was in our room doing something, so I had it on Tubi while she could watch when it kicked off. DirecTV stream was on in the living room. I was walking back and forth asking her something, and they were about to kick off, and I was like, I leaned back around and looked to the living room. I was like, wait, and they kicked off. They were running out onto the field after they had kicked off, and I walked into the living room and they were about to kick off. And I'm like, forget that, Tubi. So see, that's why I always tell people Tubi's the one, man. Tubi, you got to.
I mean, they've got a solid lineup. I looked at it. All my classic westerns from my childhood up until my till now, honestly, free. They got the new wrestling program I'm dying to see, the Evolve program with talent I know, and then we've got that big Evolve show, that show coming up where you get your first double Evolve match here in Georgia. Looking forward to that. So, folks, how are they not appealing to us? My only issue is there going to be a night where we don't have wrestling on TV? WWE is on 4 nights now, 5 if they've got a pay-per-view, 6 when you put in the Tubi.
Well, at that point, it'll be all. I mean, Thursday's the only night that doesn't have wrestling or doesn't have
that's
WWE.
They've got a partnership with.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah. So TNA is going to be there if you add that, yes. But if not, then it's Monday Raw, Tuesday NXT, Wednesday Evolve, Friday Smackdown, Saturday if they have a PLE, whatever you want to call it, or Saturday Night Main Event. Pick one.
Yeah.
And then on Sunday, this block will be back. It's not always, but yeah, this block will be there. But look, that's about talking about stuff people trying to get into business. Now we're going to have a little conversation. Look, a lot of people want to have this. I think this is a little overrated. It is what it is, but I didn't want to talk about it, but people wanted to hear it.
Well, that's the thing. Only thing been in the news this week, releases, halftime show, and politics. And I'm trying to avoid the halftime show and politics, so I've been looking at this releases. And you got some good quotes on this.
Well, first, let's rattle them off, some of the names. Luke Gallows, Carl Anderson. Did those surprise you first?
Those surprised me because AJ's back.
You would have thought they were going to put them back together?
I thought they were going to put them back together. I thought they were helping in the tag team division, especially in NXT. I thought maybe they'd work Evolve because they were I thought more NXT talent was going to get onto the Evolve show. But maybe they'll go back to NXT. That'd be a good spot. Impact. TNA. Yeah. So when AJ gets his Hall of Fame run in TNA,
here's the thing. I don't think that's happening now. I don't think that's happening.
What?
After what we saw on TV, I don't think that's happening now. Look, I don't know if I could so based on the limited window that we have, I don't think that happens now. It could, and I want to see it, but I just don't think it's going to happen.
Well, I'm interested in seeing him with Dominic, but those are the two that do surprise me. So keep going.
Giovanni Vinci, Cedric Alexander, Isla Dawn. That one kind of did because she had a title, but whatever. Elektra Lopez.
Yes.
Akam Razor and Paul Ellering. Here's the thing. It does just for the size of the monsters, but they haven't been using them, so no. Blair Davenport, I get it. That makes sense.
Phenomenally talented. Never brought her out on TV.
Yeah. And then Sonya Deville, obviously, because she's in a storyline.
Yeah, she's in a storyline with a faction. Elektra Lopez was phenomenally talented. She's had some great NXT matches. The only problem is they brought up that girl that looked just like her from NXT. I don't remember what her name was, and she's with the what's the faction? The Hispanic faction. I can't remember.
The LWO.
LWO, yes. So she's with LWO.
Or she had the Phantasmo group. Which one?
Yes.
Anyway,
yeah. She's one of those factions. So I thought Elektra Lopez was a good quality person in a role that they were using more. Isla Dawn really surprised me as somebody. They didn't release her tag team partner. That's what surprised me. They didn't release her tag team partner. Because why keep one and not keep the other in something like that? Did her partner really define herself that much in order to keep her. But NXT is full of people. I mean, just stacked full of people. I guess they wanted to keep moving on, but it's changing. The business is changing. And you were telling me what Jeff Jarrett said.
Yeah, I look in the show notes, by the way. This is why you should be a member at patreon.com/tapped-out-pod. The show notes are there. I'm not going to read like I did Booker's. Booker's was kind of short. There's an excerpt from Jeff Jarrett saying something because I wanted to, and I'm glad I found it. Essentially is that what he said was wrestling's rapidly evolving. We think of things from inside the wrestling bubble. By the way, specifically wrestlers, a lot of people just think inside that bubble, like the way things work. Ari Emanuel is now running, WWE, whether people want to like agree or, that is what it is. And he's not a wrestling guy. He's just not. He's a business person. Mark Shapiro, same exact thing. Look, Nick Khan a little bit has got some wrestling in it, but that's not, they are bottom line driven people. Like that's what they do. So Jeff kind of made the comment, he believes that going forward, kind of like all businesses do, they kind of just routinely just trim the fat at the bottom. Like, hey, cut it. And now look, that's not a shot at anybody on this list. What it essentially means is if we're paying somebody, are we getting back out of them enough to warrant, like, you had made the comment, like, being a good hand's probably not going to save you anymore.
No. And that's the thing. You look at your salary. Now, this is their product. These people are their transportation. These people are their newspaper or whatever you sell. These people are their product. You have to look at it like this. If your favorite company discontinues the color of makeup you like, or a particular mouse you like for your computer, okay, because nobody buys it but you. It doesn't matter if it's the best mouse ever. If it's not making any money for them, they're going to discontinue it. And this is what this is. This is a business. And I hate that about wrestling, but it's a business. And when we look at these releases and then we flip over to the other company, WWE is a business. AEW perhaps one day will be ran like a business, but I think WWE is really cranking in the Endeavor age as a business, not based on who pisses you off or who can work with who or who's got bad blood or who's a good hand.
Well, the reason they don't, here's the problem that people don't want to grasp. NXT, the developmental piece of it is what's helping them. Its job is to build people to replace the people on the roster. There's so much talent in NXT that they had to make evolve.
Yeah.
And so I think what people aren't getting is now you turn, think about somebody like Tiffany Stratton. That she came out of nowhere. I don't know what her deal is, her contract, like the amounts are or whatever, but she's as over as anybody you're probably paying triple what she's making.
And now she's rivaling with Charlotte. Charlotte's come out to talk to her on the main show. It was a great promo when they did that.
So you are going to have to literally sell like merch, and you're going to have to sell tickets, or you're going to have to you got to bring more to the table. Look, honestly, yourself's not going to be enough. I don't think that's what I'm saying. You're going to have to do all these ticket sales, something in order to justify, because here's the thing. If I told you that I felt like you're a couple years away, we saw the backlash Charlotte got. Here's a hot take. Tiffany Stratton technically probably pretty quickly could replace Charlotte Flair on a roster. Now, talent-wise, I don't agree with that or whatever, but their argument is if Tiffany Stratton's selling as much merch as Charlotte and she's getting the crowd reaction she's getting, and we kind of almost like borderline think Charlotte is like Tiffany Stratton is a version of Charlotte, why would we pay Charlotte over, I don't know what she makes. Let's say she's making $1 million, and I'm making numbers up, and you're paying Tiffany Stratton $250. Why would we keep Charlotte? You could just bring up another female talent from NXT and move Tiffany into that Charlotte spot.
Does the name Flair mean that much anymore? Look at Mercedes Moné. She was one of the horsewomen.
Yeah, there's a massive difference. Let's pump the brakes on that comparison, because here's why there's a massive difference. They may be looking down the road and saying Charlotte Flair's breaking Ric Flair's record. So they in their brain, they have that story. They're like, hey, then we'll have We'll have a belt that we can sell. We'll have the shirts and blah blah blah. So maybe, but again, that's if they have the vision, they see the story, but they can also biggest parts they got to justify it. They're just not. That's like all these other guys are going like why. But that's why you see there's something we're going to talk about here in a little bit. Matter of fact, let's segue into it now.
What Chris Jericho said.
Yeah.
That they're going to keep certain people just so they don't go in other directions.
Well, his thing was he felt like those guys over there are making big money because he's like, if AEW wasn't here, that doesn't happen. Like, they don't pay these guys more money because, now they have an option. They have to pay people to keep them. And, the only thing I kind of pushed back a little bit, and we think, we all know how much we think of Chris Jericho. He basically in that episode, that podcast that he did, it was kind of like, hey, well, these guys are making 10, 15, and there's multiples of them that make it. And I'm kind of like, well, not exactly. So much so that I pulled it up. Look, This is 2024 numbers. It is what it is. You can't find out what they were making right now. It had Brock at 12, Cena at 8, Reigns at 5, Orton at 4.5, Triple H 4.2. How about AJ Styles at 3.5? I was kind of like, I wasn't surprised. I knew the deal. Here's the thing. I had heard the number 4, and I knew it, but it still catches me off guard. Becky, now again, this is last year. This isn't current year. She made 3. Seth made 3. Hey, that's a heck of an income for a married couple with one child. Taker at 2.5, Miz 2.5.
Oh, I got to do taxes.
Stephanie 2.5? Really?
That's not including probably what all their stock deals are too.
Well, now here's the thing. That's some of them have merch, some have it's all inclusive, but a lot of we know Cena has merch on top of that, so he could be making that 12 to 15 with merch and everything. But at the same time, here's the pushback on it a little bit, and it's not a knock, by the way. I understand they're paying over there, but you're paying Moxley $6 million rumoredly, allegedly. Jericho $5 million. Now we know why he signed his deal because he was a day one guy, and they had to, they needed the name. So you brought up Mercedes Moné, and I want to ask you this. Everybody says 5. I've heard 3 from somebody that I believe. So I would believe the 3 over the 5, but it's still a big number. Okada making 4.5. By the way, that's a whole other rant.
If WWE would have wanted Okada, they would have signed Okada.
They were interested. They actually talked to him. They were interested in him.
They weren't interested in giving him that much money, apparently.
Well, no, that was at a time when they weren't given that. I mean, think about it. That would have him pass. He would be up there with Orton.
Yeah.
So
you're telling me that he's doing more than Kevin Owens, who right now is in a phenomenal storyline where he's going after all these people and being brutal. You think Kevin Owens isn't drawing a lot more money than this guy?
Hold on.
Do you think Kevin Owens would leave?
Yeah, I think there's a chance Kevin Owens leaves, by the way, when his contract's up. It's coming up soon. And I do think there's a chance he could leave. I do. I mean, I'm not saying, look, do I think it's going to happen? No. But do I think it can? I think it could. Like, because here's my argument back. What's left for him to do in WWE? If he just wants money, stay. And by the way, that's if they pay him to stay. But like, what's left for him to do? Put him back in a feud with Sami Zayn again? You weren't real keen on that the last time we talked about that.
Well, it's working now.
I'm just saying. No, I get it. Me. Okay. It works for now. But when that feud's up, what's left? Because then he would have gone full circle. Think about that. He's been like Roman. Every champion under the sun. He did the feud with Roman. He came up short for the title, but he did it for a long time. It was like 8 months. That's what I'm saying. He's been a world champion. He's been a U.S. champion. He's been a tag team champion. He's feuded with everybody under the sun. I'm like, now, again, by the way, I don't think he's leaving. But I'm saying I think to say it wouldn't happen. But when anyway, I got sidetracked. My point was AEW overpaying people. My analogy to that is, and I'm not saying they're a bad sports team, but I'm saying bad sports teams and new teams have to overpay to get players to come to there are teams in bad markets that have to overpay to get, like, guys get, I don't want to say that because it's a bad example, but like guys, like sometimes Cleveland, they just have to overpay to get somebody. It just happens. So like, hey, I don't want to live in Cleveland. No offense to people that live in Cleveland. But there are athletes who are like, I don't want to live in Cleveland. I don't want to play for the Browns, or I don't want to play for the Guardians, or I don't want to, you know what I mean? So, like, they're going to overpay. So I understand. Like, when Jake paid Jericho $5 million, it was insane on paper. But in the theory, I got it because that's what it was going to take to get him to go over there. So they have to overpay to take people away. The problem is his theory was they're going to overpay people in WWE to keep them from leaving. I disagree with that.
So if WWE just pays for the people they want to make money with, and they start, well, we don't care if Brock leaves. You know, Brock was named in that lawsuit, probably very tenuously. Cena's retiring. Yeah, we could do without somebody on here. Strowman, we could cut that guy. 1.2 million to keep him. That seems a little much. And AEW takes these. And this is the problem I have with all these releases. Is AEW just going to pick them all up, or is AEW, if these people get let go, these big million people, is AEW just going to keep getting these people and giving them big salaries? Is that what they want? Is that what they're doing?
No, I think they're gonna overpay for certain talents when they're released. But like Brock, the push. Here's my thing with, like, why would you eventually, like, because at some point there are diminishing returns, and I don't, all that other, the legal stuff, I don't, whatever. Let's say all that gets passed and he's fine. Okay. By the way, so let's just go from the financial standpoint of it. I think there is a threshold that even TKO says, okay, we get it. You sell a ton of merch and you do a lot of PLA, whatever, but $12 million is just enough. Like, they're like, we can't justify that number. There is a number for everybody. And in the future, I think that's what you're going to see. They believe in guys. I believe they're going to handsomely reward the talents at the top that move the merch and do all the things that they need them to do. They have commercial appeal. Let's go with that. Let's call it what it is. They have commercial appeal. Everybody else, they're expendable, because there's a guy or there's a girl down in NXT who can fill that role at a fraction of the cost. That's my danger.
Even if they're not proven.
But if you've got 3 or 4 of them, take a shot with all 3 or 4
of
them.
Keep just spamming them till one catches on.
The pipeline just keeps coming. By the way, you're testing them out on NXT. You kind of know. It's a smaller sample size, but you kind of know. You got the vibe off of them. So I think that's probably, but again, it is what it is. But let's jump in a little bit, man. I don't know. Any final thoughts before we move on?
No, it's just the wrestling business evolved so fast. It's hard to keep up with it. Now it's looking, like you said, like a professional sports team. And when we started doing this almost 10 years ago, it was like a buddy system. So,
well, that's the difference. And that's why I think, like, everybody compares, you can't compare AEW to WWE and vice versa. Not because one's better, not because one's worse, not because they're not, and it's all personal preference. They're not run the same. So you can't sit there and go like, well, why are they paying this? If they feel that it's warranted and that's what it's going to take to get them away from it, so be it. There's going to be a TKO WWE factor where they go, it's just not worth it to us anymore. Like, if Kevin Owens came back and said, hey, I want $4 million a year, they might look at him and go, we're just not going to do it. Is Kevin Owens worth it? Depends on who you ask. But the problem is, they're the ones writing the checks.
What is he worth to them? Not what is he worth to me as a fan. What is he worth not to me who's enjoying him right now? But is that like this mouse? I really like this mouse, but if this mouse isn't making Logitech money, they're not going to
stop selling the mouse. Yeah.
Yeah.
But in AEW, he might look at him and go, I think he's worth $4 million. It fits within our budget and it fits within our system, so be it. We're going to pay him. That's a good thing, by the way, because guess what that does? Lets both sides, like, it gives the wrestler a little bit of leverage in negotiating of saying, like, that's what you want.
And you had this talk with me when we were coming back from Canton the other night, or going to Canton, I can't remember, where I kept saying business model. I don't understand their business model. I don't understand. And you were like, it's not a business model with AEW.
Yeah.
It's an
It's his
entirely
hobby.
different program. It's basically an E-Fed come to life with all the money in the world. I mean, he was at the Super Bowl. Don't hate it. Tony was at the Super Bowl. His dad has a team. He works for that team. Everybody with the team should have been at the Super Bowl. He's enjoying his life and doing what he. I mean, even if he's not getting the ratings he used to get, even if he's not Mister Super successful, he's enjoying this.
But what's successful? We tell people all the time. Typically, if you start up a business in the first 5 years, you're not profitable. 3 to 5 years, you're just trying to get all your money back, recover, whatever. So let's say he's in the year 5, 6, whatever, and he's profitable now. Some people claim with the TV rights money or whatever. Even if he's breaking even, he's whatever. It just depends. But let's say he is profitable with the TV deal that he's got.
Oh, okay.
Actually,
cool.
isn't he? That is a good business model. Now, I disagree with that, but it is what it is. So.
Well, then can you explain to me Grand Slam? Because I don't know what the hell is going on with that.
All right, so February 15th, Saturday, AEW Grand Slam. First of all, I'm going to go over the card real quick because that's the least of our things. Mariah May versus Toni Storm. By the way, shout out to Mariah May, your AEW Women's Champion, showing up Friday at the Turnbuckle Show in Watkinsville.
That's wild.
Kudos and refereeing. That is crazy. Along with the guns. So she's defending against Toni Storm. Okada's defending the Continental title against Buddy Matthews. That one will be a great match, by the way. Kenny Omega and Will Ospreay versus Kyle Fletcher and Takeshita. Be what it is. If you're into that style,
it's going to be amazing. Style. Yeah.
Jay White and Cope are going to wrestle Moxley and Claudio in a Brisbane brawl. Mercedes Moné will defend her TBS title versus Harley Cameron. And Jericho and Big Bill and Brian Keith have said they're going to be in a trios match. They did not name the opponents as of recording. I'm sure that'll come out later. All of that says, look, what it is. Now, why does the card matter? I really wanted to get the card out there as of recording because there's a lot of controversy. Look, I am the first person to try to be devil's advocate, defend AEW in the sense. This is one of those categories I'm telling you I can't find much to defend.
And I am Mr. Doom and Gloom, and I see things from a bad standpoint. And I'm like, is this a pay-per-view card? Was this the kind of card, if they were going to run this as a pay-per-view, was this the card they had planned for it?
Well, no. I would say no. I originally think it was going to be a pay-per-view. This obviously would not have been the card. There's a video that's out there that I found, and it gave a lot of information that, like, why is there so much controversy about Grand Slam? I'm going to try to give you these 2 videos were about 25, 30 minutes long. I'm going to try to give it to you in less than 5. This thing was originally supposed to be in a stadium. 40, 50,000 is what they probably thought they were going to sell in the stadium. Why not? They knocked it out of the park at Wembley the first time. Why not? Yeah, we could do that.
Their overseas travel worked good.
I mean, hey, there's a lot of things they didn't factor into that. Well, ticket sales, they've sold they were like at 10,000. They move it into an indoor arena, and some wacky things happen. Let me backpedal up to the stadium concept. This gentleman that did the research pointed out for the fact that at their peak viewership, Australia, at their peak, was drawing about 20-something thousand viewers a week on television. And you thought you were going to sell a 50,000 or 40,000 seat, stadium is what you thought you were going to pull. You were going to double in ticket sales what you were getting. So there's problem number 1, just right out of the gate. That's the least of your problems. The other part became when you did it in London at Wembley. Well, here's the other problem. All of the, when you think about other countries and they're not that far, relatively speaking, from each other. Like you can get from one to the other pretty quick.
Europe's like Texas, right?
It's super small, right? So the other problem is for anybody think about it. From the U.S., a flight to Australia is 14, 16 hours, something ridiculous. It's literally the other side of the planet. It's anyway. So your U.S. like anybody with a now look, I get it. There's some just AEW like freaks that are like, I'm in, and they bought plane tickets because you're gonna have to fly. Like think about that. That is literally almost a day in the air, a day down and a day back. Now
The
you're talking about
recovery's got to
getting.
be insane.
You're gonna be there at least a couple days, maybe. So now it's 4 days. It's becoming a week thing. Like I want to take a week off from work. Blah blah blah. Well, it's okay. Well, you still got the local people in town. Okay. Well, here's the problem. Australia is a big country / continent. All of the cities, primarily, most of your cities are on the coast, and the middle is like empty. Like it's like nothing.
Snakes and dingoes and traps and crocodiles.
So, this guy's like pointing out, like here in Australia, like there are road trips. Like, hey, we're gonna go from city to city. It's like a 12-hour drive. It's literally, or it's like a 16-hour drive or whatever. And
you'd love that.
Not across that area, I wouldn't. I at least like to see stuff. But so the point being, it's like expensive even for local people. Like in Australia, like when I say local, not in Brisbane. So it's like this becomes super expensive to get people to get them there.
Like Birmingham to Atlanta, if you were to get their equivalent, would be like 2 days worth of drive. I mean, I'm exaggerating, but it's ridiculously long over there.
It's bananas in the sense of that it's so far. So you overestimated people's willingness to I don't know if you've ever looked. We have a friend that we went to high school with that lives in Australia. He's like, hey, y'all should come visit us and whatever. You can stay at our place. It's right on the beach. He showed us pictures. We're like, oh man, this is awesome. We'd love to go to here. Then we saw like plane tickets to Australia. We're like, well, maybe not. Like, we'll have to figure that out.
Are they expensive?
It's expensive. Very.
Are they more expensive than those tickets were for the stadium seating?
Yes. Tickets to Australia are thousands. Not like hundreds, thousands. By the way, I'm fat and I'm flying first class. That's why they were thousands. Like, I think they were like $6,000 a piece.
Because I tried to get in a regular seat on Spirit one time, and I was probably another 50 pounds lighter, and it was a mess.
Yeah.
Like, they couldn't even get the damn seatbelt around me. It was horrible. But
so do you see where I'm coming from, how expensive it would be?
Yeah, and these folks, they bought the stadium tickets.
Now we're going to loop back to that. Folks. So the hardcore fans dumped in. This is where some of the real stuff goes off the rails. Like, all of that was just a mess in itself. But then people bought stadium, like seats on the floor in a stadium show in excess of $1,000. They were hundreds and thousands of bucks. Because, hey, we all assumed you're going to Australia. It's got to be a pay-per-view, man. This is going to be awesome. Big stadium show, blah, blah, blah. So guys are over there are just dumping their money down. They're paying $1,000, plus whatever for their tickets. And then they moved it. Well, first it's like they moved it inside. Let's take this a problem at a time. Let's start there. So then tickets are reallocated seating because now there's not as much room on the floor because now it's not in the stadium. It's in an arena. Things are getting shifted around or whatever. And it comes out that now your seats aren't quite as good as they were when they were in the stadium. Well, then it's not a pay-per-view. Then they start deciding we're going to do some buy two, get one frees, and we're going to like drop the price on some of the tickets or whatever. So now a guy reports out online, he's complaining. He now has gone online and looked at tickets. He already has a ticket that he paid over $1,000 for. And he is behind a seat that he can buy for $300.
So he can't
because of the reallocation.
Sell it, even to make the same amount of money off of it. So he can't break even.
And here's the kicker. They use a system over there. It's not Ticketmaster. I believe it's TickTech or something to that effect. I'm probably butchering the name. But by the way, in Ticketmaster, when you check this little box, you agree to this as well because I did confirm it is in Ticketmasters as well. If seats are reallocated or whatever like that, it is not a refundable reason.
Oh.
So this guy's going to have to basically sit there in a seat that he paid $1,000 for, behind somebody who probably paid $3 for, and by the way, could have probably done a buy two get one free. So this guy, somebody in front of him, could have potentially bought 3 seats for what he paid for the one that he's going to, and he's going to be behind him.
Yeah.
No, he's going to pay he's going to get $600, and he's going to have 3 seats versus, because if he does buy two get one,
yeah, he's going to pay $200 a seat. Yeah. Wow.
Yeah. So that's crazy. Anyway, then it gets worse, because it just keeps getting worse. They still defend. They double down on the idea this wasn't going to be a pay-per-view. It wasn't going to be a pay-per-view. When they never said it was going to be a pay-per-view, we all assumed that. Then it was like, okay, well, at least it's going to be Dynamite. Well, no, it's on the 5th. It's going to be a Collision taping, or a special episode of Collision, not a taping. So the B show, you paid $1,000 potentially for a floor seat that you thought was in a stadium, and it's now in an arena, and you're getting a Collision episode. So is it 2 hours? Or is it 3, and are they going to record Ring of Honor before and after? I'm not really sure.
The last AEW show we went to, that was that wasn't Collision.
No,
that was Dynamite. And we were on the floor 3 rows back for $100 a seat.
The Athens show that I went to was a Collision. Okay. That one was that, and then because it was a Saturday, yeah. And then
so you've been to 3, I've been to 2. So, yeah. Or maybe you've been to 4, hell. But the one I went to with you was $100 a ticket, 3rd row from the ring on the floor.
Yeah.
For a Dynamite. So this guy has a $1,000 ticket to Collision.
Oh yeah, that was at Sugarloaf. You're right. That was Sugarloaf. Yeah.
Yeah. Nice arena.
So now here's the problem. This is where it gets worse, Myron, because we got to pedal on here in a second. A social media post hits. I'm assuming it had to be a scheduled post that slipped through the cracks of whoever does social media. It actually said, basically, they were happy that AEW Grand Slam pay-per-view was coming or whatever. It was coming this weekend or whatever. So clearly, at some point, somebody was under the impression this thing was a pay-per-view.
Well, the word Grand Slam has always meant pay-per-view, hadn't it?
No, I think they did the they were doing the one in Arthur Ashe.
But and that was a Dynamite super duper show.
Oh yeah, it was a big show. But it petered over the years. Remember, that's why I think they moved it, because remember it was like they did like 20, 30, whatever it was, and it was half, and then the next year was half of that. It kept diminishing. So maybe that's why they thought moving it was the case. But here's my thing. Like I said, I just want to come back to like this was the PR nightmare part. Like the ticket thing, a lot of people are going to say that's on the ticket company. That's not on AEW. Like, no, you should have never been in the stadium to begin with, based on the knowledge of the market. Just knowing, like, I'm not even a live event guy. I'm not a guy that can do that. But I could tell you, if your viewership was 27,000 during your peak, you probably shouldn't try to run a 40, 50,000 seater, stadium.
That's something me and you could do for a company. You master social media. I can be around and tell people, no, you ought not do that. We could be a team. We'll work for AEW. I'll get a passport. We'll just fly all over the place, examine venues. But until then,
you just need some statistics and numbers. All you need. It's really that kind of.
Well, the only thing I'm carried about this whole thing is, are they going to bury Harley Cameron under Mercedes Moné? Is she the next possible star they have?
Cameron?
Yes.
She's got the charisma. I'm really surprised that they're just kind of, I don't know. Now, here's the problem. Did they only hype her up to feed her to, Mercedes Moné at Grand Slam? Maybe. Because here's the thing. They are putting some people on there that are, from the region to try to help boost some of the attendance and stuff like that.
Buddy Matthews. Yeah.
I mean, but, the Fletchers and that, like that was another one. Cameron's from there, over that area. So maybe that was the thought. I don't know. I'm not really sure what they were thinking. Heck, after this whole debacle with it as a whole, bury the PR, just plow ahead, get right through it, because this one's going to be a black eye for a minute. That is for sure. Yeah.
But what is the pay-per-view coming up that we know is done right? That we hope. Excited for.
Cross our fingers. The Elimination Chamber's coming up, so we thought we'd do something a little bit different. Hopefully we're going to do this more often. I kind of like this concept. Look, this is not the top 5. Nobody's claiming this is a list. This is just really simply Nick and Myron kicking it around, going like, hey, these are some of our favorite Elimination Chamber matches of all time. They're all chamber matches. That was kind of our goal, not matches that happened on an Elimination Chamber pay-per-view or PLE at the time. Yeah. Maybe we should go back and do those Ultimate cards again sometime. What do you think?
Oh, those were nuts, man. That took too much. That was like...
If you're unfamiliar with what we talk about, go into our YouTube channel and look up like Ultimate WrestleMania cards, Ultimate Starrcade card, stuff like that, and listen to those episodes, and then send us tappedoutpod@gmail.com if you think we should do some of those as well.
God, those are hard to do. But
they are really, really hard.
We have to remember on this. Also, we have to very well remember on this whole concept. Sometimes Elimination Chamber was a title match.
Yep.
Sometimes it was a number 1 contenders match. Because in our first choice, Elimination Chamber 2017, Nick, what was the big deal about it?
It was for the WWE Championship.
Yep.
Why was this one of ours? They had just kind of redesigned the chamber. It kind of looked a little bit different. But the story of it all was this was Bray Wyatt's showcase. Like, this is, he overcame John Cena, AJ Styles, and some other people in the match. But this is kind of like Bray Wyatt. It was his first title run, and I know he had done a lot of stuff, and people thought he was really cool. But winning your first title, I feel like there are exceptions. There are guys that won their first title, I'm like, meh. But most of the time, this is kind of when the company acknowledges and says, you're a player. Like, you're
doing
we're
good.
in. We are invested enough that we're in. So that would be my, Elimination Chamber 2017. Bray Wyatt captures his first WWE Championship.
Mm-hmm. Also, that was a big year for Elimination Chamber.
Yeah. Women's Championship. First ever Women's Chamber match.
This year, I'm looking forward to the Women's Elimination Chamber match like crazy. Because it's going to be a slobber knocker, as they used to call it.
As of recording, there's 2 slots open. And I think our winner's already in it.
Oh.
Keep a note for the next couple of weeks when we do our picks.
Oh,
in
let
2 weeks.
Let me look at that. Hold on. Let me look real quick at that.
No, hey, listen. We'll go back. Look, Chamber 2017 women's match. Alexa Bliss defended the title. And here's look, obviously everybody's thing is it's got its place in history, first one for the women's or whatever. But what I thought was cool about it, and this is why it sticks out to me, those women got pretty brutal in there. Like, because that's kind of sometimes like when they did women's ladder matches or stuff. When they did Money in the Bank, you're like, oh, it's going to be, and they're not going to be as brutal. When we eventually had a Hell in a Cell, and they proved us wrong. Chamber was kind of the first measuring stick, I think, of WWE finding out, hey, these women can get just as brutal as the guys do. And so that's kind of why it stands out. But obviously, I think the history is because it was the first one.
Yeah, Alexa Bliss won it, and she's in the chamber this year already.
Does that make her the favorite for this year?
I don't know if the program has left her. She is so tiny, Nick, compared to these other girls. They've gotten so much bigger and so much stronger. She's got to have her hands full.
Yeah, I think she can. I think she can still hold her own. Yeah, because she's different. That's why she has a place. It's because she's different.
Good point.
Chamber 2002.
The first
one.
Yes.
When we do these lists, like, you almost kind of have to factor in, like, doesn't the first one always have to be like on the list?
Were gimmick matches? Oh yeah, because when you create a completely different gimmick match, somebody else did a steel cage. Somebody else has done a bull rope match. Somebody else has done this. Somebody else has done ladder matches, but nobody's done an elimination chamber match. That's fake.
Yeah, I agree. Elimination Chamber 2006, New Year's Revolution. This one was wild, and here's why this makes the list. John Cena wins. He's still your champion, But the crazy thing is the reason when this one makes the list is it's not necessarily what happened in the match. It's what happened after the match. Edge cashing in that Money in the Bank and becoming the champion, right? That's the craziest part.
No, that was the 2006 one where Edge did that one at New Year's Revolution.
That's what I just said.
Oh, I thought we were talking about the first one.
No, I was already on. I went through the whole 2006 night. Yeah.
Oh, shoot. I'm sorry, folks.
And yeah, so that's what I'm saying. So the post match is what stands out on that one, and that's your, what makes it so special and so memorable is because that's one of you like the first it's the first cash in. It's oh my god, and it set the table for like why and when and where and how you should cash in your Money in the Bank. Last but not least, the Elimination Chamber 2008. It was WrestleMania title shot. That was kind of the where
this
things
was on a Raw. Wow.
The Raw, and so it Triple H, Jeff Hardy, Jericho, Shawn Michaels, and some others, whatever. Jeff Hardy winning and getting the shot at the title. Like Jeff Hardy's that's the guy, right? That's when he elevated and became a guy.
Yeah, he had so much, man. Jeff Hardy. I hope they get a comeback, especially when you think about it. He went over Triple H, Jericho, and Shawn Michaels. 3 guys who have meant more to the wrestling business than just about anybody. Jeff Hardy went over them. Do you want to see the Hardy Boys get another title shot in it? Like another run in WWE?
I've gone on record saying 2 things. I believe it was on No Way Out, by the way. It wasn't Raw. So the notes were off a little bit. But
oh shit.
No, you're fine. Hey, that's me. It was me doing the notes. It wasn't you. I mean, so the thing with the Hardys is not only do I feel like they have another tag team running in them, I think Jeff has another singles run. We were talking about that a while back, and I think Jeff Hardy actually has a singles run in him too. And I think he's a merch mover. Because here's the thing, I believe he is. Everybody says he is. He's clean, he's sober, and he's in great shape. Because he took those breaks. He's healed up a little bit, had time to recuperate, did the surgery, that the eye thing, whatever, all that stuff. I'm like, dude, if he's on his game, people love him.
Oh yeah.
The whole charismatic enigma thing is like legit.
Oh yeah. Casey stole my daughter stole my Jeff Hardy t-shirt. She didn't have a shirt to wear when she came home. She forgot to bring one this weekend. Grabbed my Jeff Hardy shirt. Obsolete on the back, the full Jeff Hardy makeup on the front. Man.
So that's what I'm saying. Like he even appeals to a younger base. I think not only, like I said, dude, I think they have a tag team run in them. I think there's a singles run for Jeff as well. But that's all down the road. Hey, listen, that's all we got in the show, but we want to remind everybody before you kind of take off, sign up on patreon.com/tappedOutPod. If you were a paying member, you could have got this show literally days because it's going to be ready days ahead. And also you get the Georgia Wrestling Spotlight. That's a free one if you're just a free member. All you got to do is create an account. We talked about it on the Tapped In show as well, where we were like, listen, become a free member. You can have it feed right to your Apple Podcast feed or your Spotify feed or some other, you can copy the link and put it in. If you have another weird one that you like to use, hey, we get it. You could do it as well. So that way you're getting everything. Patreon has everything, whether it's the articles, whether it's the show notes and all that kind of stuff. Just pick your level when you see what's on there. But I just want it just in one place to make it easy. Patreon, you get the 2 main shows and that show as well, all under one umbrella. And look, if you're watching us on YouTube, make sure you're subscribing, liking the page, turning the little bell notification on, all that stuff to make sure.
The greatest value in professional wrestling podcasting. Folks, you got to do that. Keep up with us on all media.
And well, man, that's all I've got this week. You got anything else before we get out of here?
No, man, there's so many shows. It's one of those weekends in Georgia where there's so many shows. It's going to be hard to pick one. We're stacked up and waiting. There might be some big stars. No telling who's going to pop up at some shows.
Yeah, and like I said, we'll see. I got some cool stuff going on. There's a reason I'll be at the show on the 15th at Buford, so come on out and you'll see a different side, maybe a little bit. That's kind of the running joke. It's like it'll be it won't be podcast Nick, it'll be work Nick involved that night. So hopefully we'll see you guys.
Which shirt are you going to wear?
The work one.
The work or the work?
No, my work, like my job shirt.
Okay, you're not doing.
I'm not wearing a podcast yet.
Okay.
No.
So it's not a work.
No. Anything else before we get out of here, brother?
No, man. Once again, it's another day of fun doing a show. I am looking forward to wrestling. Can't wait for NXT tonight, because we're doing this on a Tuesday. So enjoy wrestling, folks, and nobody can tell you what kind of wrestling you like. That's your decision.
I agree. Well, man, if that's it, what's the old saying, brother? If I've got nothing and you've got nothing, what time is it?
It's time to tap out.